Hey guys, Tran here from Fanatic Perspective, filling in for Stephen Ngati while he's on his sabbatical. We have a special roundtable. We have our LSU specialist, Billy Moreau, on the call. We are missing one of our trio, or I guess our quartet, Brandon Arrington. We don't know where he's at right now, but he may be jumping in the middle of it to touch on A&M's crazy offseason that they've had. Before we get into that, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Last Stand Hats. They have the hats, man. I'm rocking one right now, the all gas, no brakes. I love. This is honestly the best snapback. If anyone knows me, I'm a fitted guy, but I love their snapbacks, and I love the colors of the Longhorns that they have to match the different types of shirts that they have. I know Billy's been asking for them to partner up with LSU, but they do partner with other colleges around Texas and also even in Oklahoma. So, I mean, great partners to the show. But if you're interested in it, go to laststandhats.com/fanatic and use the promo code Fanatic10. That's laststandhats.com/Fanatic10. So, I mean, we haven't touched base really, but Billy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. It's a new year, new opportunities. So I think it's always good to get back together. And if anybody sees Brandon, we're looking for him. Knock on his door, tell him we're looking for him. But no, on a serious note, it's good to get back in here and chop it up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, I mean, we haven't touched base since the Alamo Bowl, actually, since bowl season came up. So, I guess I'll touch a little bit about the Alamo Bowl. We all were supposed to go as a group. I mean, Billy, you had some stuff come up, but Brandon went with us. We had this was probably the best portion of it, was just reconnecting with a whole bunch of friends. I think we went with 7 different people, and we had the first 2 rows essentially. Had a great time, man. With great people, So that was the best. That was the best portion of it. We got to see a lot of the youth movement play a little bit. A lot of frustrating plays. I mean, that's what it was. It was sloppy plays. Everyone's going to point to the drops that Worthy had. However, something that Worthy does that I've noticed through the game and rewatching the game was he is a phenomenal route runner. His routes are so crisp, and if he gets in, gets that connection with Ewers, they're gonna be unstoppable. I hope that we get to see another year of that duo together. But Billy, I know you watched it. What'd you think so far of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, when you're throwing deep balls and you're not quite in sync, you can definitely see that portion of it with Worthy and Ewers. They're barely missing. And it's funny you say that, because I was thinking about it as you say that. It's kind of look at the Mike Evans, Tom Brady situation. And if you watch the Tampa games, they were missing, and it wasn't by much all year long. Yeah. It wasn't that they weren't getting open. It was, and then last week they start hitting, and next thing you know, you're going for 220 and you're moving into the playoffs, and that's what you want, right? So, as Texas is growing, they made a step this year to, with the record and their wins, and now moving into next year, if you're going to take that next step to be, a contender to win the Big 12, that's your first goal, and then potentially move into the playoffs. You find that connection, right? And you're in sync because you've got another off season of working together. And so that's what I think the goal needs to be, is focusing on, those, you're still going to miss some, but you want to connect on them as well as much as possible. Cause once you get a couple of them, it's almost like you just know where that person's going to be, and where they're going to, in their route. So that's the thing I'm looking for. The running back situation, that was odd. Didn't know what we were doing there, kind of. If I was just, and is the guy in the portal? Is one of them in the portal?
Jaden Blue put his name out there, but then withdrew that almost instantaneously. But I agree with you. I mean, I thought we were basically, without him saying it, promised to see the Jonathan Brooks show.
Right.
And in little spurts we did. I mean, I think he touched the ball 8 times, and then 2 of those times were touchdowns. I mean, a quarter, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll want to see that, but you want to see it more. I mean, if he's the one thing that's making your offense roll, you got to make them stop you, essentially. Refreshing is to see that Ewers, you could tell he worked on his footwork.
Yeah, he did.
His short passes, the first half wasn't, first quarter, middle of the second quarter he wasn't great, honestly, but you saw him progress and get better as the game went along. So that's very refreshing to me. I think we have a stud at tight end. You know, Jatavian Sanders, he may be the best tight end next year. And I'm not being, I don't think I'm being just offhandedly just like all off to the side saying that he is going to be in the conversation if he stays healthy.
There's no doubt he's a player.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy knows how to play football, and you watch him on the sideline, he's a leader. And so those things translate on the field too. It's always one of those things you look back to when you're playing sports, and with certain people might be better than most people, but they lacked a couple things that other people might have had, and they had better success because they had that leadership. And so I love that about him. He plays hard, he's a leader, and he can go. That's always, for me, I love watching players like that. So
yeah. No, I mean, we didn't draw a scrub this time at the Alamo Bowl.
No. Oh, no.
So, it's a quality team. I mean, this was not Colorado where we just walked in there and we just outclassed them. This was not Utah. I mean, Utah was a top 10 team when we played them, but I mean,
they lost out to make the playoffs. So
it's a little different. And that's one thing that I can look forward to, is that I'm not going to get overly excited just because we beat the crap out of a Pac-12 team that was disinterested or just wasn't on our level. Because honestly, I think Washington, they're keeping their team for the most part next year. They're going to be in the conversation for the Pac-12 championship if Penix has a repeat year of what he had, and that defense continues to improve. So I mean, to hold them to 27 points, I mean, that the defense didn't look great, but I mean, we still held them to 27 points, and that was a very, very high producing offense. So I mean, that's another thing we can hang our hat on. Other than that, it's the end of a very long, tumultuous season, it seems like. So, but I mean, hey, you had a good bowl season.
Not bad.
I mean, when you run up 63 points on a team, on a Power 5 team, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah. That was the biggest bowl victory ever, tied with, I think, Navy or something along those lines. It really, if anything, the season we had, obviously I would say we exceeded expectations. I still thought, with a bowl, we could have won 10 games with a bowl. In the regular season, I thought 8 or 9, realistically. But, coming off of the A&M loss where we got destroyed, I mean, they beat us up and down in the trenches, and that's the reality. And then going to Georgia, and really the Georgia game looked out of line, but if you watch it again, you would say, oh, there's a couple freak plays that happened in there. An interception where it bounced off our guy laying on the ground that looked like an incomplete, and they got it. And then, that return on the blocked field goal where it looked like the ball was dead. I mean, there were some crazy plays, and for us, we threw for 500 yards. So, and we now see TCU probably used a lot of that. Not TCU, I'm sorry. Ohio State probably used a lot of that they saw on film that Georgia put out and used it against them again. And you saw that. And then we moved to Purdue, and, obviously Purdue was outclassed. They didn't have, new coach coming in, quarterback transferring, but, the bottom line is, though, we went in there and handled business and then some. And so if you're building a great team, you got to handle business in those situations and then some. And that's what we did. The quarterbacks, we got something brewing there. I think it's a good thing. I mean, obviously competition is always a good thing in my opinion. if it's fair and you're actually looking at it as
equitable. Yeah.
yeah.
It's not our situation where
right. Where
we
it's
knew
like,
what was going down.
yeah, yours is going to start no matter what. It doesn't matter. Right. Yeah. And so if that's the competition and it's hey, y'all, whoever wins. Or maybe we play two quarterbacks because they're different type of quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels, one of the things I'm sure that the focus is going to be on the offseason is the deep ball, the confidence in throwing the deep ball. He doesn't turn the ball over, but at the same time, if you eliminate big plays, it makes your offensive possessions a little more difficult to score at times, especially against good defenses. And then you have Nussmeier, who turns the ball over and is loose with it at times. But boy, when he decides to make a play and throw the ball down the field, he can throw it. And we have receivers that can make the plays, which is so it's a good situation, in my opinion. I'm proud of the way we perform. I love the way that Brian Kelly has our organization structured, built in of, hey, listen, there's no excuses. We're going to go make good grades. We're going to be good people in the community. We're going to eat health. Like, we're going to take care of our bodies, and we're going to make sure we're 100% when we play. And, if you're not in line with that, not a problem. It's not personal, but you're not going to be here. And so, because I truly believe from what I've seen with him is like his goal is really to build men and that can be, successful in life. As we know, the goal that is for all of them is to go to the NFL. And but there's also another goal is we want you to graduate and we want you to know that, like, yeah, the NFL, you 3 years is the max. It is like your average. Like, there's a whole life ahead of you after that. And if you're not built for that life, a lot of negative things can happen. And so I love the way I see it approaching. And I just love the demeanor of the team. They were focused. Our guys were there. And I really am looking forward to next year. First game of the year, fun fact, is we start with Florida State again. So we got a little redemption for them, but they're going to be loaded. They've already hit the transport portal very well, and they got a lot coming back, just like us. And so that's where it's going to kick to find out where we stand right out the gates. So,
is that in the Bayou?
No. So this year we played New Orleans. It's actually where we just played in the Citrus Bowl. So that's a good thing for us.
So it's like a home game.
Yeah, it's a home game.
Yeah.
Right. So neutral site situation. So that'll be fun. I hope right now they don't have a week 0, whatever they call that, week 0, blah, blah, blah game that they had one this year. And I think it helped them in the first half for sure. As of right now, they don't have one. So I think we'll be on, even playing field. I know we're not going to schedule one. So that'll be good to see, just because it is what it is. When you get a one game in and you get some reps and some understanding of your team, it helps. So
you got to look at it this way, though. Like, if we're talking about FSU, is like FSU needed everything to happen that happened to win.
To even win.
Yeah. So and that's the first game Kelly coached. I mean, I knew when they announced him as the coach, and I mean, we're on a text app, and I'm also on a separate text with other friends, and they were laughing at the fact that it's like, that's just makes no sense. I was like, it actually makes perfect sense. I mean, he's taken Notre Dame twice to the national championship with the recruiting restrictions that he had at Notre Dame. He couldn't recruit the same type of athlete that LSU could recruit. And that was the main reason why he went to LSU, because he knew he could recruit and he could coach those people up and coach them to be better men. So, hats off to a great season that the LSU Tigers had. I'm hoping that we make that turn. I mean, we're not that far away. I mean, we're an 8-5 team. I do think that there were some opportunities to get to 10 wins, but I just want to see, especially Ewers, take that next step, because we played well against a top. I think probably once the rankings come out, they may be a top 12 team in the nation. We played well against them without probably 3 out of our best 5 players, without Overshown, Bijan, of course, Bijan being number 1, and then Roshan Johnson. Everyone's going to say, Tran, what's your thoughts on, like, the defensive line? Well, they all played, and it was like, well, the defensive line is a unit. I'm not going to single out one person.
Right.
That's just because we don't have a that dude like an Aaron Donald
Right.
on the defense line. We have depth. That's what we have. I think that if we had to pick someone on the defense line that's the best player, quote unquote, I would probably say it's Collins when he's healthy. And he's
Well,
not.
depth's key. At D-line, you need 8 of them. Really 10. I mean, look at Georgia. You want to know why Georgia's why they're taking over? Dude, they rotate 10 of them, and they're all beasts, and they all can roll. That hurt us against, A&M. Our D-line, Wingo led the nation in snaps. And he's a stud. All first, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't matter.
You get tired.
No matter what.
You're going against the biggest guys on the field, and you have to push
over and over and over and over and over. Yeah. So
that's what type of strength and conditioning program you have. I mean, you can't really train someone to be the best on every single rep for every single possession. So, I mean, I get what you're coming from. What else do you want to touch on LSU?
I mean, I think that looking forward to next year, I mean, we set up really nicely. The O-line's back. Everybody on offense is back besides Butte, which, it's part of it. But to only lose one person out of the whole offense is pretty remarkable, considering the offense was really good this year. At times we had some issues, and that goes back to being able to throw the ball down the field. Because, it's like, oh, do you turn it over? Well, you got to give players a chance to make plays as well, especially when you have the guys we have. So that's the corner we'll turn on offense. I think we need to really focus on, and it's, who's the quarterback, but it's a good problem to have. And then defensive line, we'll get Mason Smith back. We lost him, I don't know, second play Florida State or something like that, or second series early. Okay. So he's back. So that's going to add just a natural depth. Now we lost some of the ends, but we brought in a bunch of people. We have some young guys. So that was our focus, I think, in the offseason was secondary and D-line and getting depth there and having 8 or 9 that we can rotate. I think we had 5 guys that pretty much played all the snaps all year. And that's just, in the long run, you can't win a national title like that. And so the DBs, we have some coming back. That's good. Brooks will be back. We lost a couple. But overall, we should be in pretty good shape next year. We should be a top 10 team heading into the year. And I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see. I'm proud of us. I'm proud of the season. Hats off to the staff, to the players, to everyone involved. Just really showing a product that's impressive, in my opinion. I'm impressed. And I don't use that word easily because it shouldn't be used easily. But to see the organization and, what we have going. I love the way Brian Kelly coaches. He coaches his teams. If you screw up, you need to know about it, especially if you're young. It's like, hey, we don't do that here, right? Some people, they're seniors and they make a mistake. You just need to look at them because they already know what they did. Now, if you repeat that mistake, hey, we're going to have some problems. That's different, right? I love the way he's coaching. Jaden Daniels doesn't do something, he tells him. Nussmeier comes off the field, turns it over against Southern, okay, a dumb interception. He's eating them alive. I love that. That's coaching. People think, oh, we're friends. We're not friends, okay? Like I'm here to coach you to be the best person you can be, right? When you're done here, we can be friends, right? And we still can be friends, but you know what I mean by that. And I love that. I'm happy with where we're headed. And so I'm really pleased, and I enjoyed it. I just enjoyed seeing the product. The guys play hard and they work hard. And so now we add depth and we build the organization to where now we have guys in our system for 2 or 3 years, right, through this. And so I think that's how you get to the point you want. So I'm excited.
Just real quick, one thing that you touched on was the fact that the offense has some stuff to work on, and you just touched on a great point that you should be excited about is that you have that coaching staff that understands exactly what you just said. It's like, and that's what they're going to work on. They're going, and it's not. They're organized, and they're not going to force something down the field just to say, "Hey, we need to keep the defense honest, so let's just throw a ball down the field." No, it's going to be educated guesses on when they know that they're going to beat the coverage. But yeah, great year, great first year for Brian Kelly. I mean, yeah, you had nothing but good things to look forward to. So There was a couple games, the playoffs, and the
Couple,
playoffs,
just a couple, huh?
couple
That's
games.
it.
So yeah, I want to touch on last week's games, and then we can touch on the national championship. So last week's game, let's start with Michigan TCU, because this is very interesting. And I know Texas only lost by 7 points to TCU, but we both had teams in the national in the playoffs that kind of kicked our ass. Honestly, they worked us, and I mean TCU. It was a 7 point game, but context matters like always.
Okay.
And they beat us. We didn't score an offensive touchdown on them. They dominated us. But at the same time, I think our defense played lights out against them.
Played awesome. Yep.
But let's touch on that. So just full disclosure, I made money off of a parlay on both of them, taking the points. But TCU, what's your reaction to them coming in against Michigan?
Well, I thought the Big Ten was down this year. First of all, that's where I start. I think that's the one thing. I think they were down overall. Do I think Michigan was still talented? Obviously. Do they necessarily have the playmakers? Nah, they're okay, right? They're above average. Obviously, you don't get to that point if not. But do they have those guys with the running back who got hurt? That hurt, that definitely set them back. But overall, TCU, man, they fight. I mean, that's what I see is like they don't feel like they're out of a game, and even when they're winning the game, they're still going in there to say, hey, we want to get 7. Like we're not holding back. They're organized. And they know their offense, dude. They know their offense, it clicks. When it's clicking, they're going. And they know what they want to do, and they have talent. I thought it was interesting. They lost a running back, their Hoss, and they didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, their backup held his own. I know he had a crucial fumble at the end of the third quarter, I think it was. I think it was like the last play of the third quarter, but it was a crucial. But he balled out still as a backup. I mean, you're right. They didn't miss a beat. When are opposing teams going to learn to shut their mouths before the game? That quarterback just gave an underdog bulletin board material.
Right. Well, Tran, I don't think that's ever going to change. I mean, you would think it would, right? But it happens over and over again. So what tells us it's going to change?
I want to say was it Quinnen Williams that he started saying something about someone, and then he's like, never mind.
Himself in the middle of the sentence.
Yeah, he's like, never mind. They're a great team. Like,
right.
I mean, if you're gonna throw shade like that, because, dude, this isn't a FCS team. I mean, this is a Power 5. They're not the champion of the conference, but this was, I mean, best team in the Big 12.
They beat everybody in the conference.
Yeah, best team in the Big 12.
And y'all are a little outlier compared to everyone else, right? Y'all play everybody. So reality is that's reality. We don't play everybody. So you need a conference championship. Reality, and you're in the Big 12 is you play everybody. So we went through the whole season and we beat everybody. You're the best team.
Yeah, and it's hard to beat a team twice. I mean, it really is hard to beat a team twice. And you've seen it in previous years with the SEC, playing them in the regular season, then playing the same team in the SEC championship. It's really hard because there's so much tape and so much tendencies on how to play. I was very impressed with their defense. Like they have TCU has very physical corners. I know they have the Thorpe Award winner on the team, LaDainian's nephew. Is it his nephew? Yeah, it's his nephew. But yeah, they've always had those guys that are just
DBs and wide receivers. They always do well.
They always have that, and you knew that Max Duggan was going to have a good game this after having a subpar game in the Big 12 championship. So, hats off to Sonny Dykes for having his team ready. I think they were a 5.5 point underdog, if I recall. And I saw that. I was like, I'm taking those points all day, every day. TCU and had the toughest schedule comparative to all the other college playoff teams in the playoffs. So I was like, this team's going to become ready, and they're actually healthy now too, because they had a stretch where they didn't have a week off from, I think it was late October or early November or something like that. So they actually had some time to heal those little bumps and bruises that suck during a conference push. So yeah, I mean, great win. I want to see what they could do.
Well, I think if one thing that I love about this scenario with TCU is, if anything, this should help the game to let other teams know that with the transfer portal, the way it is, we can turn this thing around quickly. A lot of teams have a good foundation, but maybe they're going through coaching changes, right? Just like they did. And so you bring in the right pieces and you keep the pieces that are the right ones from before, and you can turn the switch quickly. And I think it's a good thing overall for the game to see some new blood in there and to see TCU win this game. I think it helps a lot of other teams moving forward. And I think it's a good thing for the game overall. Now, we don't need to get into the portal and all that stuff. That's a whole different world, and that's a whole different discussion. But overall, those things lead to being able to turn around a program pretty quickly, and I think it's healthy to see that. And
when do you think colleges are going to start hiring specialized GMs?
I know LSU. We already have it set to where we have.
I know we have analysts that are supposed to do that, but
our recruiting. I think we've hired transfer in our recruiting department now. I think
we have one too.
Specific transfers to that, and so I think that's kind of what's already taken place. I mean, you have to, right? And you got to make sure these people are happy. Now, I think we need to tighten up the reins on some things, and it has. You can only transfer once without sitting out. That's going to help in the long run, just in general. And if we can find a way to eliminate chasing the money, that's not. And I don't care. I don't want to stop anybody from making money, but when you start chasing the money, that is a bad characteristic to have in life. And most people won't. Not most people. Some individuals, they're young, they're influenced, right? We're 18, 19 before we understand. I mean, that is not a characteristic you want in life. Very few people can do that and actually sustain it and live a healthy life. And so we could tamper that and really focus on how we're going to, organize the payments in some way, shape, or form. That'll be great. But I'm proud of TCU. Michigan, they played too. I mean, they didn't not show up. They played their butts off too, and they kept coming back and they kept fighting. And that was they put it all out there. Just wasn't quite enough at the end. So,
yeah, I mean that's the way we knew it was. We knew that these matchups were actually pretty good matchups, to tell you the truth. So let's flip it over to the other matchup, Georgia, who was a heavy favorite, I think, against Ohio State. Which, to me, I was just like, Ohio State's offense is the perfect offense against that Georgia defense. So that's why I took the points on that. I didn't take Ohio State money line, obviously. No. But was the 1 point win last second, was it shocking to you?
I think that seeing enough sports in my life, good teams have to win games like that. And
tight games.
Yeah, and that's what they do. If for anybody to think that you're going to roll through a season. I mean, they did that against Missouri, but it wasn't necessarily a last-second field goal. They just kind of imposed their will in the fourth quarter and got back on top. But, if you think about it, I don't think they had a game where they were down and had to come back, late in the fourth quarter. And I just feel like good teams, they find a way to get it done. And I did think that, the Stroud situation, in big games, he hasn't really showed up ever, honestly. And so – I was happy for him in general to go in there and play his game that he did. And I think he was motivated. I think the team was motivated. And I think they have Marvin Harrison Jr. So that also matters.
I honestly, probably the best wide receiver in the nation. Oh. I mean, Quentin Johnston is very good, but just from a route run and a hands perspective, I think Marvin Harrison has that title. Me, I was not shocked at all. They had been hearing the fact that Alabama should be in this game. The rat poison analogy that Saban says is that and plus everyone has been, pumping up Georgia as the greatest team of all time. And I mean, this team you can't lose as much NFL talent and be as good as the team previously. I mean, this is a great team. Let's be honest. It's a great team, but it's not. I think last year's team is better than this year's team, and you give a coach who's driven, a team who's been hearing that they're not supposed to be there, a month to prep for you and just obsess about you. Unless the team just doesn't care. Yeah. And you could tell. You could tell when a team doesn't care. And you saw it from I think they went up at 1.3 scores.
Oh yeah, they were kicking ass.
Yeah, they were dominating that game, and I was just like, can they continue this through the full 4 quarters? That's without having a real run game. Can they continue this through 4 quarters? And I mean, it came down to it didn't. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen necessarily to the team. I know people have been talking about their coach, just like the coach shouldn't be there, blah 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 blah. I was like, well, he's just playing the college football.
All right.
Yeah. Against a Georgia team that's probably going to be. I don't know what the line is for the game is right now, but it's probably going to be more than 3 points. I'd assume.
I think I saw 12.
A 2-score game, which if that's the case, I'm jumping on that. Spoiler alert, I'll jump on that one right now.
See 12, right now I'm looking at it, I see 12 and a half. Okay. So it's going to be roughly around there.
Yeah. But, I mean, Georgia did what they had to do. And like you said, great teams find a way to win.
They do.
And, I actually had this as the national championship game, which is Georgia versus TCU. I see a lot of similarities that this offense can produce points against this Georgia defense, but can they withstand getting up for the game
again?
Yes, the big time game again. And if anyone could replicate what Texas did from a defensive perspective,
right,
it would be Georgia.
Yeah.
So I do think that Sonny Dykes will have the Frogs ready to play, but can they play for 4 quarters? I mean, I'll pass it to you and give you your thoughts on it.
I think the first thing I'll just say, you can have your team ready to play, and sometimes you're just not good enough. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it kind of feels like that might be headed down this direction. But at the same time, every time you might think that about TCU, that's not the case. Okay. They're going to show up and they're going to fight. And there's no reason not to believe they're not going to. And they got playmakers like we saw against Michigan. And if you have someone who's coming in there making plays and doing things, you can stay in the game. Right. And you can win a game. And so my thing is TCU probably needs to get up early. Okay. And I know they're a comeback team, but you don't want to get into this grind where Georgia's turning around, handing it off. Then they're throwing their little inside seams to the tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then they hit you with their receivers. Some of them are back now. And then they hit you down you don't want to get into that offense with them because then they're comfortable and they're playing how they want to play. You want to get into where they're having to fight to get back into the game. I think that's your best odds overall if you're looking at it. I think Georgia wins. Obviously, I don't see there's no reason for me to say they're not going to win.
Yeah.
I just think that sometimes they have the best coach in America at this point. Not saying he's a better overall coach, but right now he's the best coach in America. And they have the best program in America. And it is what it is. And they're going for back-to-back national champions. And they, one thing that stood out to me, and I laugh all the time, and I've told y'all, when Big Boy from Georgia picked up Jaden Daniels on one arm and held up number 1 on the other with his other hand in the SEC championship game, in the middle of the game, I was like, okay, we're in trouble. And, it's just sometimes they're just built different. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. So I think Georgia wins. I think you're looking at something. I don't think we're going to have as high scoring a game as last time. I kind of just think that's how it usually works. 35, 27, maybe something along those lines.
Yeah, no, I do not think it's going to be a 12-point game. I think TCU will play them close, but I just think size, like you said, size, speed, experience is huge too. Like they now know how to deal with the emotions of this game. That's one of that's one of the things that they interviewed Tom Brady is like, how do you handle your emotions during this game? He goes, he broke it down like by a quarter basis, and then halftime. He's like, halftime, you have like an hour
Right.
in between halves, so it's like a separate game that you have to mentally prep for. And I mean that it has the whole pageantry of a small Super Bowl here too. So you get I think it's an extended halftime as well, and they know how to prep for it. It's different when the big lights are on, and I'm excited to see certain matchups. I'm excited to see Quentin Johnston versus Keely Ringo.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Absolutely. Those are two guys that I'm upset that Texas missed out on, and everyone knows everyone knows what I wanted. I wanted Keely Ringo when Bijan came, so I'm excited to see that matchup specifically, and I'm excited to see how TCU's offensive line holds up against the Georgia front seven. I mean, it's going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
I mean, TCU, they got the best O-line in the country. They won the award for the best O-line in the country. Yeah. So, and if you're going to beat Georgia, I promise you right now, you better have an O-line that can hold up against that D-line. And so you're going in the game as a TCU fan or as TCU mentally, hey, we check the box. We at least know we can hold our own on that. And that's huge, okay? You don't want them in the backfield all day. I mean, obviously. And so that's a positive, right? And now can we win one-on-ones?
Hey!
I don't think that's Brandon, though, but it's him. But I don't think it's a live shot.
Yeah, no, another cool matchup I think is like the matchup of the backups too. I mean, if you think about it, like Max Duggan wasn't supposed to be.
I know that's crazy, bro.
And all of us agree Stetson Bennett probably should not be.
We haven't even mentioned Stetson Bennett. He threw for 400 yards.
I know. Surfer Boy was going crazy, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, Surfer Boy, bro. If we had a live chat right now, he'd be all over this.
Oh yeah. He deserved to be in New York.
Oh yeah.
Hey, BA. Quick thoughts. We're in the process of closing up the championship talk. What's your thought on what's going to happen between TCU and? First of all, welcome, brother.
Yeah, welcome.
Now, what's your thought on how the game's going to end for the national championship?
Man, I mean, first you got to give credit to TCU for even being there. Who thought at the beginning of this season that this would even be a possibility? I, for one, did not. That being said, it all comes down to that front seven for TCU. How do they respond to Georgia's offense? Those big boys up front, the running game. We know what Georgia wants to do. They want to come out, play good defense, run a ball, then take their shots with their tight ends and receivers downfield. That being said, I see it competitive in the first half, but I don't know if TCU has the rotation and the manpower up front on the defensive side of the ball specifically to keep pace. So I do see this game being close at first. In the second half, Georgia pulling away, probably 2 possessions.
We were just talking about it. The spread's 12.5. So,
yeah.
I said 35-27. That's kind of my thoughts on it.
I'm taking TCU for the points.
Oh yeah,
I'm taking TCU, but I mean, I could see like a late game interception or something like that happened last time and screw up that whole line. But yeah,
or it'd be a bad beat like the Mississippi State game where they're all around.
The lateraling. Oh
yeah.
So we touched on before you came out of your coma. We touched on the Alamo Bowl for us, the Citrus Bowl for LSU. Let's touch on your coaching hire that you had happen.
Make sure you say I gave him credit for A&M.
Oh, he did. He gave credit. He gave credit to that.
They kicked our tail in all up and down the field. So yeah.
And I was like I said in the chat, that was the only game I think we saw our potential, what everyone expected all season. Good running game, good solid defensive play. I mean, we scored over 24 points. Hooray! Right. That was the first time all year. But as far as the coaching hire, it's not sexy. Let's start there. It's not a sexy hire. But when you go back and you look at the film, I'm okay with it. I watched this film. I watched Missouri State play Arkansas. His scheme was very effective versus them. When you talk about the level of athletes that he has for Missouri State, going against the SEC defensive players, like very good offensive scheme that he can create. Now, we all know he comes with baggage. I think at this point, that's okay. Me and my beliefs that, hey, everyone gets a second chance. Hell, even third if they don't mess up too bad. So, as long as Jimbo does relinquish play calling fully, which, according to a lot of circles, that's exactly what he plans on doing. He's going to give that away. He's going to allow them to call plays. Sure, he'll still be involved and have some say, but he's fully willing to let that go. I think that's good. Hopefully now we won't see a timeout after a TV timeout like we did sometimes last season. I don't know. Didn't get it.
I don't sit well with anybody on anybody's team. I feel you on that.
That was the Tom Herman special, dude.
Timeout.
Tom Herman special was after a kickoff, we'd get a delay of game. Yeah, that's unacceptable. No, I agree with you completely. I know there's been a lot of Texas fans that have been making fun of that hire. I think it's a pretty good hire if they, like you said, if Jimbo relinquishes all control of the offense. Because I mean, let's be honest, he can coach, man, and I've seen those stats where he's like the 70th rated offense in the FCS. Come on, man. You're dealing with a different brand of athlete now. Different brand. They were in the 90s.
Right, we were not good offense.
No. I'm talking about his offense. His offense in the FCS.
Missouri State.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you look at what he did at Power 5.
Yeah, I know.
That kind of.
We've seen it.
Yeah,
we've seen it.
Everywhere he went as an offensive coordinator, those offenses increased that year. And he did that literally at every stop. And don't forget, he also coached a Heisman winner and Lamar Jackson. Going back to his time at Arkansas, when he was at Arkansas, their offenses were ranked number 3 in the conference, and I want to say number 5 in the conference. If we would have had that last year, that's probably 4 or 5 more wins. Considering our defense was top 6, top 5 in the SEC last year. So, I mean, if we can just get a similar improvement of what he's done in the past, I like it. Now, I think it's very low risk, high reward, buy low situation where, hey, if it doesn't work out, it's okay. He can, if he does cause some negative spotlight, it's an easy way we gave you a shot.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's the door. So all in all, it's not sexy, but I do like it.
I mean, for me, as a guy, as an LSU fan who's seen Petrino firsthand at Arkansas, year in and year out for a while, the guy knows how to coach and he knows where to put people to be successful. That I know. Also, we played Louisville in a bowl game with Lamar Jackson. Didn't work out well for him, but obviously it was a little different ingredients at that time. We were pretty good, but the guy knows. So I think we live in a society where you think that, a retread hire is a bad hire. Okay. That's just where we live. It's a weird dynamic. Okay. Because if we looked at it like that, then Bill Belichick would never ever be the coach for the New England Patriots because he failed miserably for the Cleveland Browns. Okay. So that means they would have never hired him. And I'm just using this one example. They're not all created equal, but to even think that's the reason. For me, it's okay, Jimbo has to trust somebody to run the offense. Okay, so the individual who's coming in, it's going to have to be somebody he trusts. And so if that's what he truly trusts Petrino to say, hey, look, I'm handing, this is your car, these are your keys, you go do what you want to do with it, drive it how you want. If that truly happens, I think you made the right hire because that's what you need. You need that. That's what you're looking for. Despite who the person is, does Jimbo trust them enough to allow them to drive the car? And if that is the case, which I think it will be, Does that lead to success? Not necessarily, but that's what you wanted. And that's what you hopefully are getting. And that's all you can ask for. It's not sexy, but sexy don't win games. So there's that.
And to your point, I mean, if he's looking for people who can just take it over, he has a former head coach on defense. Right. Now we have a former head coach on offense. I mean, guys who knows how to run programs entirely. So having him isolate in just one specific side of the ball, one specific thing to focus on, I think is a good thing overall. Frees up Jimbo to just be the CEO type manager that we saw Bowden do later in his career. And guess what happened there? It turned out pretty well for him. So, all that said, we still have to go out there and play the game. Yeah. So we'll see what it looks like this time, or, we'll see. We can have this conversation this time next year and see how it turned out. But overall, I am pretty excited once I went back and watched the film and see how he's able to scheme things. Because, man, that dude, he's really good at scheming people open. It's kind of impressive. At first, I was wondering if he was a little bit too pass heavy, but he's had 1,000-yard rushers aside from, Lamar Jackson and his Heisman Trophy, but actual 1,000-yard running backs during his 10 years too. Me, former running back, so I love the run game. I love when we can lean on it. So it wasn't all as bad as I thought, and he has he's more run heavy than some of the other candidates we were looking at. So overall, I am excited to see it. I know there's backlash. I know people bring up his personal life, but people make mistakes.
Hell, there should be a statute of limitation to that stuff. I mean, what did that happen? Like 6-7 years ago?
Oh man, I think
like
10 years. Like, yeah, definitely there should be a statute of limitation. I mean, you can make a joke about it, but I mean, it doesn't. Right. When do you forgive someone? Like
one of my favorite little memes going around. It says "brace yourself," and it shows him all in his brace.
That's one of my favorite pictures. It's just a great picture. It's hilarious.
It is. It fits in so many levels.
Yeah.
He looks like a red Jabba the Hutt in that one. But hey, guys, I don't want to take up all your time or anything like that. I appreciate you joining. Brandon, thank you for joining too.
Yeah.
Provide your perspective. Everyone, thank you for having me as the knuckle dragon Neanderthal replacement for Ngati on this portion. But I appreciate y'all. I'm thankful that we get to have these discussions. And as always,
I got one question. Hold on. Okay. While we're talking about coaches and their issues, we didn't say no discussion of Chris Beard being fired officially before. I mean, while we're at it, we might as well.
That's fine.
Bring that up. I mean, I think it's fair.
No, it's 100% fair. I mean, honestly, when the police report came out, I knew it was a foregone conclusion. It was just a matter of if, not when, type of thing. I mean, a when, not if, other way around. But it was. Now we get to see the public arguing of him getting his money or not. So that's going to be fun. If you ask me directly, like what coach I'd want as a replacement, I can really put my finger on one right now because I haven't really looked into it. It's just a horrible situation. It's a terrible situation. Anyone, I mean, all of us have significant others and things like that, arguments, best thing to do is walk away. Right. Walk away. We all weren't there, so I'm not going to speculate exactly what happened, but when I read the police report, I knew he was gone.
Yeah,
it is what it is. And I wish it was a little bit quicker, the decision, but I still think that they acted appropriately because I know when lawyers are involved with contract situations, they have to do their due diligence as well before they actually act on an expulsion of someone.
Well, if you're fine, and also when you fire someone with cause where you're not going to pay them a bunch of money, you better, you need to make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, and so because you're more likely getting in a legal battle anyway.
Yep.
Make sure that you have set yourself up in the best situation moving forward. I would look for two names, just real quick to throw out: Eric Musselman from
100%,
and Nate Oates from Alabama.
I know Eric Musselman was on one of my short lists, and I know a lot of people are saying Royal Ivy, just from the Texas connection, and then who's the coach from Virginia? I can't think of his name, but they were talking about him. But I'm not paid the big bucks to go find the best player, so I'm not going to stress about it at night. What about you, Brandon? What's your thoughts?
Well, to your point, after reading the police report, I think the administration did the right thing. It's an unfortunate situation because you had a great basketball coach who was doing pretty well, but anytime you have a domestic disturbance at home, to your point, it's easy just to walk away. So this all, none of us were there, but we've all been in situations where we probably have walked away. So I mean, it's shitty for the kids. It sucks for them, especially the guys who want to come and learn and play from this man. I mean, we've seen what he's been producing as far as recruiting and on the court, that he definitely is a leader of men. But I think the administration did do the right thing. I disagree with you, and I'm glad that they took their time. They got as much information as possible before making the decision. But I do think that, kind of once we all read what was written down, what transpired, there's kind of just one way to go. But I am, happy to see that, hey, they took their time, they did their due diligence, and then came to this conclusion. But we'll see what you guys move forward. As far as the short list, to your point, I have not even begin to look at candidates or anything, so I'll just lean on the knowledge and of you two on that.
Yeah, you have to look at the coach and also the players that we have now and who are coming in. So you have to. I hate to say that you have to hire a coach for the players, but it has to be a little give and take on it. So I mean, they did their due diligence on the firing. I'm sure they're going to do their due diligence on the hiring as well.
Well, they got time. That's one. If anything,
Rodney Terry's doing good right now so far. I mean, we had a bad game against Kansas State, but I mean, it's a Big 12 play. We
got time. You got time. You got time. Like you got time. The season doesn't end for another 3 months. Check this guy out and get a free opportunity to see what he's doing, how he's going about it, and you got time to talk to other coaches and see where they go, where their thoughts are. And so, if you're going to look at anything out of this situation, you're in a pretty good spot to take your time and hire the correct coach. So,
yeah, it's a good perspective on it, guys. Once again, thank you all for especially early in the morning to get this done and sent over. Steve, we miss you, buddy.
Yes,
Last Stand hats. Thanks again. Do my end podcast promo. But laststandhats.com/fanatic. Fanatic10 is the promo code. Get yourself some swag. Guys, once again, thank you. And horns always up.
I promise I won't be late next time.